Welcome to another wonderful lesson. This lesson is so important, and this lesson is going to enlighten you about string manipulation in Python. This particular skill is important to be able to solve a lot of problems when it comes to using Python for anything in data analytics, in machine learning, in app development, in cybersecurity, whatever you are using Python for, these skills will help you to be able to understand what you are doing much better. As we come here and study Python, we are building upon the knowledge we have, and this is going to deepen our understanding of the language. A time will come, you will realize that you are really understanding the heart of the language. You are understanding Python. And certain things that looked so difficult to you previously, now you have an understanding of them. You understand them. You understand why they are, how they are. And it becomes very, very good. And I want to tell you that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. Wow. This means it's all about your response and how you react to life. No matter what has happened to you, you can overcome it. That's what the message is saying. It says you can overcome anything that has happened to you, depending on how you react to it. There are some things, they look big to you because you have made it to look like the end of the world. And I'm here to tell you that you will make it. Your life is not going to end here. You will make it, you move forward, you have a great future. There was a time in my life I had a problem and I thought, I'm finished. I thought I'm going to, that's the end. I thought that was the end. But after 1 month, I realized that I'm still alive. After 1 year, I'm still alive. After 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I'm still alive. I didn't die and I'm not going to die. That same way, whatever you are going through right now, no matter how big it is not going to end you. You are going to see tomorrow, you are going to see the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. You are going to have your wonderful family. You are going to have your wonderful future. You are going to have all that you have in your dreams, and life is going to be amazing. Your dreams are going to come true. Your dreams are going to come true. You have a beautiful home, beautiful life. You see your kids, you see your grandchildren, and you make it. Let's not turn small situations into big situations. Let's react with maturity. Let's react knowing that we are not ending here. We will make it. We will make it. If you believe you'll make it, say, I will make it. I will make it. All right. So this is me. My name is Darlington, and I'm happy to be your Python instructor today. Thank you, Brahman. All right. So today's lesson is mastering strengths in Python. This is part 3, and we are going to learn how to manipulate and analyze strings or text efficiently. Thank you so much. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to solve complex coding challenges using string methods, and efficiently manipulate, format, and analyze text to reinforce learning. So this lesson is actually about string methods. It's about string methods. So although we have strings generally, this particular one is talking about string methods, and we are going to understand what string methods are. Let's take a quick recap of what we studied previously. And when we say string methods, we understood that Python provides several built-in functions in its standard library. All right, so Python provides functions. There are a lot of functions in Python that is already provided, like the print function. You didn't define it yourself. The print function was provided to you. The input function, you didn't define it yourself. It was provided to you. All right, so Python itself has a library that provides a lot of functions that we can use. And it enables you to perform a wide range of operations on strings. All right. So here we are pointing out all the functions that Python makes available specifically for strings. Last week, we looked at some of them. We looked at a function that was able to count the number of characters in a string. And who can tell me the name of that function that was able to count the number of characters in a string? Anybody? Let me see in the chat. The len function. Thank you, Lois. You are so smart. The len function was used to count the number of characters in a string. Good to see you, Esimame. Good to see you. Happy to see you. All right. Now, last week and tonight, we will also be mentioning what the difference or differences are between functions and methods. And sometimes you are talking about methods and all of a sudden you are mentioning functions and you come back to methods. And what I have on my screen is saying changing case methods. So last week we were able to look at the changing case methods like the upper, which is a method that can be used to convert all characters to uppercase. So if you have a string, you can convert it to uppercase. That's wonderful. You can also convert your string to lowercase. And sometimes it is very, very important to do that because your program requires it. What you want to use a string for requires that you are able to convert it. All right. And sometimes we can convert to title case to capitalize the first letters of each word. I'm not happy when people write their names in lowercase. Your name should not be written in lowercase. Your name should be written in title case. When we say title case, what it means is that the first letter of your first name and your middle name and your last name, the first letter of each name should be in uppercase. So if you are Michael, the M should be capital, the I should be lowercase if you are writing in title case. Your surname should also be the same. Sometimes in a program in Python, you may have to convert to title case. If you want to display a title of anything, you need to display it in title case because titles must appear properly in title case. All right. We also looked at the capitalize, and capitalizes only the first letter in the string. In other programs, we call this a sentence case. With this, all the words will remain lowercase except the very first letter of the first word. Just like a sentence, if you are writing a sentence, only the first letter of the first word will be capitalized, but every other word must be in lowercase unless it is a title. All right, so in Python, we can use the dot capitalized, and we looked at that last week. We also saw an interesting one called a swap case. And this swap case, who can give me an example of swap case in the chat? Just write two compound words in swap case. All right, two compound words in swap case. Yes, so let me see the first person to do that, if only you understand what I said. Okay, Robly, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, Timothy, thank you so much. That is swap case. Okay, thank you, Robin. All right, so that happens, sometimes you are supposed to use camel case, sometimes you are supposed to use Pascal, sometimes you are supposed to use this. This one is called swap case. All right, thank you, Lulu. Okay, then we saw an interesting one last week. It's called the case fold. And this one converts all characters to lowercase. It is similar to the lower method, but it is more aggressive. Last week, I said that it is a sister to the lower. It's a stubborn sister to the lower. This case fold doesn't delay. It is very aggressive. It's very, very aggressive. And text that the lower cannot convert, case fold can convert to lowercase. because sometimes we have characters that are not in English alphabet. We have characters that are symbols, and dot lower has a limitation. We discovered that last week, that dot lower has a limitation. Dot lower is able to convert only the English letters. But if you have strange letters and letters in other languages, case fold works just like dot lower, but it is very aggressive. It is able to convert anything to lowercase, no matter how strong it is. All right. So just one pop quiz, and this one is the same question I gave you last week. It says, what is the main difference between functions and methods in Python? What is the main difference between functions and methods in Python? So I want one person to tell us what it is, and you can put yours in the chat, but I want to hear from one person. So if you want to speak, please raise your hand, and I'm going to call you. Tell us the main difference between functions and methods in Python. One person. If you want to put yours in the chat, please feel free. I want to see what you will tell us, because just like I said, we are talking about methods, and all of a sudden we are talking about functions, and we may be talking about functions and we'll change it to methods and all that. So what is the main difference? So we have one person here. Let's allow him to speak. So Eldad, please unmute your mic if it is possible. Unmute your mic and speak. Just unmute your mic and speak.
Hello.
Okay, hello, we can hear you, Eldad. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Darlington. Hi,
Yes.
everybody.
Hi.
How you doing? So a method versus a function. That is a quiz. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So a function is a standalone block of code. It's a strip of code that performs a specific task, especially when we want a repetitive tasks. We write a block of code so that every time we call a function and do repetitive tasks. But also a method is a function. That is the main difference. A method is a function, which is a child of a function that is associated with an object or a class.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So Eldad, where are you from? You sound, where are you from? Which country are you from?
From Ethiopia.
Pardon?
I'm from Ethiopia, Mr. Darlington.
Ethiopia. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
All right. We have Ashnafi, who is our senior Ethiopia student here.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
of course. Yeah, he's my mentor.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All
thank you,
right.
Mr. Darlington. Okay.
Thank you too. Thank you too. All right. So that is it. So thank you all for posting in the chat as well. You've done so well. So the main difference is that functions operate independently, while methods are associated with specific objects. All right. Functions operate independently. So we explained this last week, actually, but methods are associated with specific objects. All right. So for example, if you take the print function can operate on its own. You can just call the print function and use it to print something. All right. But a method must belong to something. You cannot call it without calling what the parent is. You have to call the parent first before you call it. So if you are dealing with strings, you have to have a string variable, and then you use dot to access the methods. But the similarity is that they are both functions. They are both defined the same way, but a function is standalone and a method belongs to an object, whether a class or it belongs to a greater object, okay? All right. So let's talk about string methods. And we said the string methods must be called using the dot notation. So anytime you want to call a method, you have to use the dot notation. So we explained this last week, and let me open to PyCharm and we'll just look at it again for a minute, and then we'll zoom in to the details of today's lesson. So let me share my PyCharm, and we will just try an example and see what we are talking about. All right. So when you start learning Python, you are introduced to functions. You cannot learn Python without working with functions. So let me create a file here and call this functions and methods.py. All right. So this is it. If you want to use a function, you either call it, this is a function. You can go ahead and print this. When I run this, I'm going to see hello world. Okay, I can just call it. Now, if I want to use a method, the first point is that a method is also a function. But I cannot go ahead and call that method on its own. All right, I can't just call it like that. For example, let's have a variable here called name, and let me give this name to Zeph Lontum. Now, the moment I assign this variable to a string, this variable now becomes an object, a string object. And so if I want to call the functions or the methods that belongs to this object, I would have to use the variable first, name, and then the dot notation before I have access to the functions. So all of these here are functions, just like the print function. All right, they are functions just like the print function. For example, let me remove the print and let's use the len function. Over here, if I want to use a len function, I will just say len, and I will put my argument inside the function. But if I want to use lower, I can never say lower and put my argument in it. This will not work because this is a function that belongs to a parent. So if I don't call the parent first, I cannot use it, even though it exists. So the parent is an object that it contains, and then it is called using the dot notation, and now I can call it. So the first point is that both of them are functions, but this function is a standalone function, and this function is a child of an object. And because it is a child of an object, it is not referred to as a function. Although it's a function, we generally refer to it as a method. So this is method. All right. So methods must be called using the dot notation. So anytime you want to call a method, you use a dot notation, just like I did but slower. All right. I know all of you understand this already, just for the benefit of those who are new. If you are using a regular function, you will not use a dot notation. All right. So after looking at the changing case methods, we want to look at 3 additional methods tonight. And we are going to start with a method called the replace method. So please type replace in the chat. Now, remember that it is a function. So anytime you are talking about a function, you put the parentheses in front of it. So anyone who didn't put the parentheses, I'm going to give you wrong because you are not treating it as a function. Again, Why are we talking about a method and we are saying it's a function? The answer is that a method is also a function, just that it belongs to a class. It belongs to a parent. All right, thank you. So we are talking about this replace method, and we are very, very used to the dot lower, the dot upper. We are very, very used to them. Okay, if I come here and I say name dot upper and I print this, if I print this, what is going to happen is that we are going to see, let me remove this. We are going to see the name in uppercase, Zeph Lonton. So it is very, very easy to use the upper, the lower, the title. But which one is replace? Dot replace. Now, the replace method is used to replace occurrences of a substring with another string. All right, let's break it down. When you say a substring, you are talking about a smaller string within the main string. For example, if there is a string in Python called hello world, hello within the hello world is referred to as a substring. It is a string that belongs to a string, or it's a smaller string or a substring that belongs to a string. So what we are saying here is that the replace method is used to replace the occurrences of a substring with another string. What this means is that if you have a string, you can select any substring out of your string and replace it with another string. So if you have a string, Python is fun, how many substrings do you have? Python is fun. How many substrings do you have in your string? How many substrings do you have in your string? Let me see in the chat. We have 3 substrings. So any smaller string within the main string is referred to as a substring. So we have 3. Now you can choose to replace any of them with another string. All right. So Python is fun. You can replace the fun with something else. You can replace the is with something else, anything you want. So this is how it works. And this is a very, very popular method in Python. Let's see how it works. So the syntax is this. If you have a string, you have to call dot replace and then old comma new. That's how it works. Old comma new. So what we are doing here is that the old refers to the substring. The old refers to the substring. The old refers to the substring. So what is going to happen is that any string you have, whatever you put here, of course, it's a string, so it needs to have the parentheses, the quotes, sorry. Whatever you target as the old must be a substring, and you can replace it with any new string. So if you have Python is fun and you want to replace fun with something new, you have to highlight fun here or input fun here, and then input whatever you want to replace it with over here. Very, very simple. Now, the old, which is a substring you want to replace, and the new is a replacement string. Very, very simple. Let's look at an example and I'll give you a challenge to try. So let's have an original string, hello world. Hello world. And we want to replace letter A with O. Let me pause here and see if anyone can solve this. Look at the syntax we gave you. You need to use your string and call dot replace. Dot replace is a powerful method. And this dot replace can be used to replace an old substring with a new string. Now watch this. Last week, we were informed that strings, although they may appear in words, are sequences of individual characters. This means even a single letter is also a substring. A single letter is also a substring. So we can use the dot replace to replace a single letter with a new string. So someone should look at this code and solve it for me. I just need one person to do this, if you can do it. Look at this code and solve it for me. All right, so Robly says, okay, that's beautiful. So Hillary and Robly, you use different approaches, but they all work. Wonderful, wonderful. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So this is it. All right, we can target the letter A alone and replace it with O. This is to tell you that when it comes to the replace method, you can target individual letters as well. So I use this example to tell you that you can target individual letters and you can also target words. And I'm so happy that some people actually targeted the word. So we'll go to PyCharm and try both of them and see if it works. All right. We'll go to PyCharm and try both of them. So let's say we have some text here. And this text says hello. Was there a comma? Okay. Hello world. And we are supposed to replace the A. Okay, so the instruction was to replace the A with an O. Now, what I'm here to tell you is that in your Python journey, you are going to encounter this a lot. So what you have to do is to have the experience of knowing how to handle this. So over here, all we have to do is to call the text and call the method dot replace. I like this so much because this is a function, but we call it with a dot notation. And because we call it with a dot notation, it becomes it's referred to as something else. Who can tell me what is referred to as? It is a function, all right, but to call it, you need to use. Then I did. Thank you so much. You use a swap case to tell me it's a method. I like that. Thank you so much. I like that. All right, so that is it. So here, let's see if we target A and we replace it with O, it is going to work. Now, I was trying to check your code to see if anyone will forget the quotes. You know, since we are talking about strings, strings always need their quotes, either single quotes or double quotes. This is the solution. Let's store the solution in a new variable. Let's call it new text. And let's go ahead and print the new text. And when we run this, we have hello world. So it worked. It worked. Let's try the second approach that others used. They call the wild. And over here, they call the world. Okay, so when we run this, we also have hello world. So it worked both ways. This allows you to explore Python and understand. So from today, don't be afraid of dot replace anymore because probably you've never used it before and you have a little fear in using it. You thought it was difficult, but I'm here to tell you it's not difficult. So just use dot replace and call the old and give it a new, and on you go. If you are using PyCharm, PyCharm will even give you the parameter name here to tell you that this is the old parameter, this is the new parameter. All right. I want to know whether you are following or someone is lost. Are you following? If you are following, let me know in the chat because this is just the beginning. All right. Okay. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, thank you. All right. Okay. So we are going to try another example, and after the example, I'm going to allow you to brainstorm and solve a problem. You're actually going to solve two problems under dot replace. Again, these Python classes are special practical classes that you should join with your machine, okay? So this is not a class you just listen. This is not a class you turn on your phone and be doing something else, okay? We've already established that. Maybe there are some new people joining us tonight, so I have to repeat it. The Python classes we have on Wednesdays are special hands-on classes, and so anytime you are joining, I'm ready. Come with your machine ready, come with your PyCharm, your VS Code ready, your Jupyter ready, because very soon we'll be asking you to post your code in the chat and you see everybody doing it. So if you didn't bring your machine, then you are going to be the odd one. And if you did bring your machine, then it means you are going to be able to practice and you are going to upgrade yourself in Python. This class tonight will move you from step 1 to step 3, okay? That is what this lesson is going to do for you. Let me give you another example. So we have an original string. It says the sky is gray. Replace the word gray with blue. Let's see already if anybody can solve this. We have the sky is gray. How do we solve this? I'm sure by now you should be able to solve this. Okay? You should be able to solve this. All right, so I'm checking in the chat. Anybody, just type your code, okay, in the chat. Yes, thank you. That's it. As simple as that. Thank you, Eldad. Thank you, Robley, as usual. Thank you, Cho. Yes, just call dot replace. Give it old and give it new. That's all. So we have text dot replace. I like the dot before it comes. It's a function, but it's called a method. So the old is gray, comma, the new is blue. Simple. Let's go ahead and print it. Let's assign it to something. Let's call it new text. And let's come here and print the new text. And when we run this, we see the sky is blue, blue sky. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Yes, beautiful. All right. All right. Yeah. So if your Python sky is gray, it's going to become blue as we continue this lesson tonight. Tonight, your Python sky is going to be blue. Thank you, Nyampandi. The sky is gray, new text. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, that's it. Okay. So let's see. It's as simple as that. So at this point, I want you to catch the clue of what is going on with the dot replace method. I just want you to catch it. If, let's say, you are even joining in tonight, just follow what we are doing and you can just see it. Wow. This is very, very interesting. You can actually access any tab string and replace it with a new string. All right. So when it comes to the new string, can we use multiple words? Let's say instead of blue, can we say deep blue or very blue? Or we can use 3 words or 4 words. Can we do that? Okay, someone says yes. Who else? Okay, yes, yes, yes. Let's try it and see. So I'm thinking what to use. The sky is what should I even say? Who can tell me what to say? I don't just want to say the sky is blue. I want to say something before blue or blue something. Okay. Okay, sky blue is just one word. I want two words. Two words. Two words. Light blue. Okay. Light blue. Okay, let's see. So we are just testing and you see that it worked. This means that you can bring in any string that you want. So we targeted a substring and we brought in a string. We brought in a string. All right. We are calling the first a substring because it belonged to an original string. So your first challenge is this. Write a Python program that replaces all occurrences of the word Java with Python in the following sentence. The original sentence said, I love Java. Java is great. And your program should print, I love Python. Python is great. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Solve this in your code editor, PyCharm, Sublime Text, VS Code, and post your output or your code in the chat. Okay, this time don't type the code, take a screenshot and paste it in the chat. So I'm giving you 3 minutes and I'm going to see who will be able to do it first. Okay, already we have someone. Wow. So add the output, Geoffrey. If you can add the output, I would love it. Add the output. Yes. So already we have people posting. Geoffrey has posted. We have Hillary. I want to see the output as well. So please add the outputs, run it and add the output. Let's see if it works. All right. All right. This is beautiful. Wow. Robly, on point, as always. Thank you, Robly. Thank you, Robly. All right. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Okay. Thank you, Esimame. Thank you. I'm happy to see it. Okay. All right. So if this evening you can feel confident with dot replaced, then I think you've made progress. Because before, you were a little hesitant in using it. But after trying these examples, you are beginning to see that it is not difficult. It is not difficult. And that's what we are going to achieve in this class. By the time we are done with this lesson, you are going to discover that it is not difficult. If you have pasted your code, I want you to type in the chat if it's not difficult. It is not difficult. If you have posted your code, if not, please continue working. Thank you, Hillary. Your work is awesome. It is not difficult. It is not difficult. Yes, thank you, Francis. It is not difficult. I see, mommy. Hillary, it is not difficult. That is very easy. Yes, it is not difficult. Robly and Lamy. Vusi, it is not difficult. You see, it is not difficult. That's beautiful. All right. So that is it. So you see, you've been given a challenge and you were able to think and you solved it. Okay. And the question did not specify which method you should use, but you by yourself knew that you can use dot replace. And you are going to be encountering this a lot. There are going to be a lot of challenges that you yourself, you have to think of what to do, what method to use. And if you are familiar with several methods, you are going to see that you'll be able to solve it. Okay, Benedine, I understand. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. So I'm going to give you another challenge and I'm going to see if you can solve this one. Okay. Write a program that takes a sentence and replaces all occurrences of bad with good. And I've given you a sample sentence. You can use my sentence. This is a bad idea. That was a bad choice. Your program should print. This is a good idea. That was a good choice. Almost the same challenge. So please try it and let's see. I don't know what's going on between Timothy and Bernardine. What is going on? Okay. So let me see the first person to solve this challenge. And let me see. The first person to solve this challenge. And this is going to be very easy. Very, very easy. Okay. So this shows that the replace method is not difficult at all. It's not difficult. Thank you, Lovely. Always on point. Thank you. Okay, so Lovely, I intentionally didn't talk about the one, and that is for another time. So I'll be happy if you can remove the one for now. All right, that's okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Really, Bernardine? Bernardine, why are you fighting him? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. Thank you, Lucretia. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you, Lois. It is not difficult. Thank you. All right. All right. All right. So we are going to move on to another method, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes break for you to relax before we jump into, let's make it 7 minute break before we jump into the next method. We'll be looking at three major methods, and for the change keys methods, we did them last week and we even did them in the bootcamp Python class, so we are already familiar with them. Now we are talking about very sensitive and important methods that are mostly used to solve real world challenges, and we've seen replace, and it's very easy. So let's take 7 minutes and we will continue after 7 minutes. So I'll see you, just stretch and we'll continue with the next method. Welcome back and welcome to another method. We want to look at the next method, which is called the split method. Split method. The split method. All right. So learning these methods will make them familiar to us and will help us to remember them whenever we need them. So the next method we are going to look at, and if you are back, please type back in the chat for me, and let's continue. Back, 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 back. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. Thank you. All right. Okay, so it's very good to be stretching whenever we are having long classes and we give a short break. Just stretch a little and let's continue. All right, so we are talking about another wonderful method. We have seen the replace method, and now we are looking at the split method. Now, this split method It's really interesting. Please type split in the chat for me, and let me see if you will treat it as a function. If you treat it as a function. So I'm checking all those who will treat this as a function because it is a function. All right, and everyone treated it as a function. Thank you. Some even treated it as a method. Thank you, Lucretia. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, let's continue. So the split method is used to break a string into a list of substrings based on a delimiter. The split method is used to break a string into a list of substrings. I'm pausing there because the moment you break the string, it turns it into a list, but then a list of substrings. So let's say you have a string of multiple words, Python is fun, and you use a split on it. The moment you split it, and let's assume you use a default delimiter, which is space, instead of Python is fun as a string, it becomes a list. And we'll have one element to be Python, another element to be is, and another element to be fun. Let's look at it. So we can break a string into a list of substrings. So you call your string and then you say dot split, and you split it on a separator. You split it with a separator. The separator means we give you the opportunity to determine where the split should happen. And so we are going to learn that the separator is optional. The delimiter on which to split the string is optional. And the default is, who can tell me what the default is? I don't know if you can see it well. The default is what? So that means the parameter they use called separator, it's a default parameter and it defaults to space. Why space? This means if you want to do Python is fun, you can just call dot split and leave it. If you don't indicate the delimiter, what will happen is that it will break it up with white spaces. Let's see an example. So we have Python is fun. What I used. If you want to break this, note that this is a string. All the characters are enclosed in quotes. And so if you check in Python that what is this, Python will tell you that this is a string. Let's go to PyCharm and see. So we have some text here. And let's say Python is fun. Python is fun. And let's ask Python, what is the data type of this text? Let me print it. And Python will tell us something interesting, that first of all, this is a class of string. Okay, because it's a class, this is why we are able to get methods out of it. Because if you study object-oriented programming, which we'll be doing very soon, you realize that methods are functions that belongs to classes. And we call them methods, although they are functions. So this string here is a class, and it's a string. So everything here is string. Everything here is string. The moment we apply the dot split to it, the moment you apply the dot split to it, it becomes something else. Let's apply dot split to it. Let's say text dot split with no argument. Let's check the data type of this now. What is the data type of everything we have here? Let's print it. Let's print everything. And when we run this, it will tell you that it is a list now. Really? This means that the moment you apply the split, your string the elements of your string, this dot split is applied to all the words or all the characters based on the delimiter. And if you didn't provide any, it will use the spaces. So since we didn't provide, this means that it has broken it by the spaces and it has stored it in memory. We didn't assign it to any variable, and we went ahead and we checked the data type and we printed it. Let's assign it to a variable. Let's call this, did we call it here? Words. Let's call this words. And if we check the data type of words, we will know that the data type of words is, the data type of words is a list. Okay, let's see the list. We want to see the list, not the data type. So let's see the list. If you print just words, let's see what we are going to see. We're going to see a list. Wow. We've all studied lists in Python, and we understand that lists are enclosed in these square brackets. So all the words are broken into substrings, and they have been placed in a list. Now, we need to understand clearly that this is happening this way because we are splitting on the spaces. If you don't split on the spaces and you split on a different delimiter, then the list will contain that delimiter. So the split method is used to break a string into a list of substrings. This means your substrings will become a list and stored as a list based on the delimiter you used. Again, I'm going to ask for the last time. If you don't provide a delimiter, what delimiter will be used by default? For the last time, if you don't provide, what will be used by default? White spaces. Thank you. A white space. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. So we have it. Now let's try one example. We've already tried this. All right. Now let's talk about the concept of unpacking. Let's talk about the concept of unpacking. And we are going to do two types of unpacking. Please pay attention to this. Pay attention. This is important. The first unpacking we are going to do is this. Unpacking, just like indexing, just like slicing, just like all the concepts in Python, it's a very special concept in Python that allows you to provide multiple variables for multiple substrings to be automatically assigned to them. For example, over here, we are aware that we are going to get 3 substrings whenever we use dot splits. We are aware. In the next example, I'm going to tell you how many I'm going to ask you how many substrings we are going to get. We are going to get 3 substrings because we tried it and we saw that there are 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Instead of storing all of them in one list, you can do unpacking by saying A, B, C, or word 1, word 2, word 3. All right. Now, this is interesting, and we are able to do this because we are aware that we have 3 substrings. And so we are not going to provide 2 words for the unpacking. Unpacking is an instruction to Python to assign each word to a variable. So when I come here and I say, let's print word 1, what do you think word 1 will be? If you know what word 1 is, tell me in the chat. What do you think word one is? What do you think word one is? Word one is Python. So when we run this, we are going to see Python only. Let's add word two. And word two is. I like that. And word three, who knows what word three is? What is word three? Word three is, of course, it is fun. Word three is fun. So this is beautiful. So this is something you are going to be encountering where multiple words that are broken down are automatically assigned to different variables. Now let's provide two variables here and let's see what happens. All right. It says that too many values to unpack, expected to. So this is not going to work. Who can tell me why this is not working? Why is this not working? Let me actually call someone. So I'm going to call now. If you want to speak, raise your hand. I'm going to call you. And I want you to tell me why you tell me why this is not going to work. So we have one caller. We have Jason. Let me allow Jason to speak. So please unmute your mic and go ahead and speak, Jason.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. So it's not going to work because we have three words that are supposed to be assigned to a variable name, and we have two variable names that are being assigned to values. So the three values are, whereas we have two variable names. So it won't work because the ratio is not equal. But if we had
Exactly.
three variable names and three values, then it would work perfectly fine.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jason, where are you from?
I am from Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So we all understand this now. And this particular lesson made it very clear that the dot split is able to split a string. All right, let's put our hands together for Jason. Let's put our hands together for Jason. Well done, well done. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so Timothy is also from Zimbabwe. Good to know. All right, that's fine. Okay, so thank you for the inputs. That was incredible. That was wonderful. Yes, thank you so much. All right, so this particular method has made us understand that any string you have, you can split it on something. If you don't provide what you want to split it on, it will split it on the space. And it will become multiple substrings. And we've also looked at unpacking, and we've learned that we can automatically assign all of them based on the number of words we are expecting. All right, we'll look at another type of unpacking later on. Our next example here is providing us with some text that is not properly formatted. This is a comma separated text, and we have to do something about this. And our goal here is to split it on the comma. We are going to split it on the comma. So who can write the code to split this on the comma? Who can write the code to split this on the comma? Someone should do that for me and let me see. How can you split this on the comma? How can you split this on the comma? All right, thank you. As simple as that. As simple as that. As simple as that. As simple as that. You see? So all you have to do is to split it on the comma. So you provide the comma here as the argument for the separator. That's all. That's all. So let's try it here. And our text says apple, banana, cherry. Let's leave it as text. Apple, comma, banana, comma, cherry. This is text. And we just say text dot split. And we split it on the comma. So this already works. And we can store it in a variable. I called my fruits. You can choose to store it or not. The question I'm going to ask is that this fruit, what is the data type of this fruit? Who can tell me the data type now? We know we are dealing with strings, but now what is the data type? Lucretia, thank you. It's a list. Robly is a list. Bernadine is a list. This is beautiful. So we know that this is now a list. When we check the data type, we will be told that it is a list. All right, so we have fruit here. I didn't print it. If I want to see it, I have to print it. I'm just checking without printing. So let me print it. And I'll see that it's a list. Okay, that's beautiful. We know it's a list and we can look at it. Let's look at the list. We can look at it and we can see that it's now a list. Wow. So we are manipulating data. We have converted it from a raw, unformatted text, and we have properly organized it into a list. You know that now that it's a list, we can use it much better to perform multiple operations. It looks cleaner, it looks more organized, and it looks better for use. So sometimes you may want to do this, and you can use this to solve a lot of problems in your application. All right, so that is it. So you can split on a comma, you can split on space or any delimiter you want. All right. Okay. All right. So now let's try another type of unpacking and let's see how unpacking really works. Now we are going to do another unpacking and look at how we are going to do the unpacking now. Now, watch this. Let's go back to PyCharm and listen. This fruit here, we are aware is a list. Let me check it again if it is still a list. So when we run it, it is a list. Okay. Now let's treat it as a variable. That is a list, is a list. Now that this is a list and it's a variable on its own, we want to use it for unpacking. Now watch this. Because we are aware of the number of elements within this list, we can use it for unpacking. How many elements are in this list? Who can tell us? How many elements are in this list? 3. Thank you, Eldad. 3. Maybe you didn't know. Let's try the len function on it, and let's see if the len will tell us. So the len function is telling us that we have 3 elements. Okay. So now let's treat this as a variable that is on its own somewhere. It's called fruits. This variable, we can actually say A, B, C equals to fruits. And it worked. This means that when you are unpacking, you don't unpack only when you are splitting. Unpacking does not necessarily mean split into multiple variables, but what it means is that reassign the element of a list to multiple variables. The reason why it worked on the split is because a split turned it into a list. So the first example, the split turned this operation into a list, and so we're able to unpack it. What I'm saying now is that the unpacking does not necessarily mean it should be used when you are splitting. You can use it on an already splitted data type or on a list. So let's see if we can print only A. If we print only A, what are we going to get? Apple. If we print only B, what are we going to get? Banana. And if we print only C, what are we going to get? Cherry. Does this make sense to you? Okay, so Francis has gotten it. Okay, thank you. David, Robley, Ruben, Lucretia. Okay, so that is it. So the point here is that the unpacking is not only done on a split, although it can be used on a split, but it's actually done on a list. And the split was able to work with it because the split actually converted the operation into a list. All right, my last question. Let me remove C from here. Okay. Okay. All right. So you wait a minute. Watch this. Watch this. Let me remove C from here too. Will this work or it will fail? Will it work or fail? Okay. One person says fail. Let's see if he's right. Who else? Fail, fail, fail. One person says work. One person says fail. Fail, 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 fail. All right, so let's run it again, and it failed. All right, so I was going to ask why it failed, and this is exactly what Jason told us. This is exactly what Jason told us. All right, I'm going to ask someone because this looks a little different. It's a different example. Let me ask someone else. Someone else. So I saw another hand. Whoever wants to speak, tell us why this failed. Why did it fail? Who can tell us why it failed? Raise your hand. I'm going to call you. Why did this fail? Why did this fail? Why did this fail? Just raise your hand. Let me call you and we'll move on. All right. We'll try a simple challenge, and after that, we will take our final method and we'll be done. All right. So anybody else? I wanted someone who hasn't spoken. And in the next 3, 2, 1, okay, Robley. So Robley, try unmuting. If you're able to unmute, please tell us why it failed, Robley.
Yeah, thanks. I think it failed because we have 3 values to assign, but we are only trying to assign them to 2 variables.
Excellent. That's all. That's it. That's it. Let's put our hands together for Robley. You've been so helpful. You've been contributing a lot. Let's put our hands together for Robley. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on. All right. Okay, so our third challenge here says that write a program that takes a user's full name as input and splits it into first name and last name. So I'm giving you 3 minutes. Please solve this and post your code in the chat for me. Post your code in the chat for me. 3 minutes. Okay, so we have the first code from Cho. And let me see what Cho did. Wow. Okay. Wow, I love your code. I love your code. All right, so this question didn't ask you to unpack, actually. It just wanted you to split. And you did a splitting, and it was beautiful. So let me see someone else. Lorraine. Okay, you also did unpacking. It's okay. That's beautiful. And Robley. Okay. You also did unpacking. Beautiful. It's fine. Okay, let me see the question. It says split it into first name and last name. All right, so it's actually means unpacking in a way. But once you have the list, it also answers it. All right, it also answers it. And I'm saying that because the next challenge will actually ask you to unpack. So with this one, if you unpack, it's correct. If you don't unpack, it's also correct because the list will separate them into first name and last name. Let me see, Daniel. Okay. Okay. That's beautiful. That's correct. Okay. That's fine. All right. So I'm going to give you the next challenge. And after that, we'll look at our last method and then we will be done. We will be done. So the next simple challenge, I'm giving you 4 minutes. Work on this as well and let's see. We just want you to be used to the method, okay? We just want you to be familiar with it. So just try it. I like your work, Lami. All right, so this is the next challenge. It says you have a string containing 3 colors separated by dashes, red, blue, and green. Write a Python program that splits the string into a list of individual colors. So you are producing a list. Number 2, unpack the colors into separate variables. And number 3, print each color on a new line. So this particular question allows you to split into a list and also unpack. So take 4 minutes and solve this and we'll continue. All right, so everyone has been able to solve it incredibly. Thank you. You've all done so well. And I like how you did your splitting. Well done, well done, well done. Let me see, Lorraine. You did your splitting really well. Beautiful, 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 John. Thank you. All right, so someone splitted on a comma. I don't know why you saw comma. So please look at it well. Esimame, let me see your work. You did it wonderful. Wow, and you also unpacked it. Wow, that's beautiful. That's nice. Okay, so thank you. Let me see from David. Okay. 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 At least you got the answers. Let me see from Luis. Okay, Luis, you did it beautifully. Thank you. That's great. That's great. So this is how we learn Python. And the way you are being creative with this is what will help you to build your confidence in Python. All right. So we've been able to look at replace. We've been able to look at splitting. And now we are going to move on to the last method for the day. So if you are ready, let me know ready and we'll look at it. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, we'll be done. If you need some time, some people may need some 2 minutes, but if you are ready, let me know. If you need some time, let me know. And I'm seeing a lot of ready. Okay. All right. So everyone is ready. Let's continue. All right. So we are going to look at a very powerful method. And this method is actually used to solve a lot of challenges in Python. A lot of challenges in Python. All right. We have seen how to deal with a list, how to unpack a list. You can just unpack a list just like that. That's beautiful. Now we are going to look at not splitting, but joining. Not splitting, but joining. Oh, sorry, Busi. So please type join in the chat for me. If you are ready to learn about join, type join in the chat for me. All right, so we have join from a lot of people. And this whole lesson is about strings, okay? So we are treating everything in the context of strings. And now we are not going to split. We are going to look at how we can join. And we are going to see that if we compare this to the split, it's like reversing the process. Okay, so you can split, you can also join. But understanding this method is a really great stepping stone because there are a lot of Python challenges that join can help you to solve. So after going through this, I want you to now be very familiar with join, accept this, and start using it. Start using it. If you can understand this method to the point of you using it on your own, knowing when to use it and you using it on your own, then it means you've made a lot of progress. You are no longer a Python beginner. All right, so let's see how we can use a join method. All right, so the join method is used to concatenate elements of a list into a single string. Okay, wait. So you remember how the split worked? All right, so Lucretia, you get a chance to do it, okay? Remember how the split works. With a split, you split a string into a list. With a join, you join the elements of a list into a string. So in string, we have what is called concatenation. You concatenate elements of a list into a single string. So it's just like reversing the process. If you have a string and you want it into a list, you can split. And if you have a list and you want it into a string, you can join. You can join. Yes, I'm happy you've typed join in the chat. Very soon we are going to learn that the join is more powerful than just a list. That means you can use it on a tuple. You can even use it on a dictionary and it will work. But right now, let's treat it in terms of lists and strings. So let's look at the syntax. This particular join, please watch something here. I'm going to explain something very important. The join method is so interesting. If you want to use it, you need to indicate your string separator. Please type string separator. Type string separator. String separator. String separator. Type that in the chat for me. Now, okay, so this one, we are not doing dot, a variable. We are doing the dot on our string separator. Our separator is also a string. And the join is saying that I have the ability to take a sequence or an iterable, remove all the words and put it into a string for you. just give me a separator. If you're able to give me a separator, I can join the element for you. So let's go back to the list we had. Python is fun, not a string now, but a list. First element is Python. Second element is. Third element is fun. Just 3 words. Now we want to join them into a string now. To join them into a string, do we need a separator? Because right now they are elements of a list. If we want to convert them into a string, do we need a separator? Do we need a separator? Yes, we need a separator because the elements don't have any separator. They are individual items in a list. If you join it without a separator, you are going to have Python is fun with no spaces. So what do you think would be a good separator to join a list that contains 3 elements? Python is fun. What separator are we going to need? A space. Thank you. All right. So we are going to see how interesting the .join works. And all you have to provide is your iterable. When we say your iterable here, we are referring to your sequence, anything that can be iterated. So this can work on a list. This can work on a tuple. And it can also work on a dictionary. But right now, let's treat it as a list. So it says that the join method does not work only on lists. It works on any iterable that contains string elements. Okay, so look at it here. Any iterable that contains string elements, such as lists, tuples, set, and dictionaries. So you can use a .join. It's very powerful. I like it so much. Let's see one example. So we have this. Python is awesome. You can see that we have a list here, words list, and it has Python is awesome. These are individual words. They have no spaces. But our job, our goal here is to pick the individual words and put it into a string. You see, you can solve this in multiple ways. But this time you are going to solve it with the join method. The join method is saying that if you want to use me to create a string, you see, we use a join to create a string, begin with a separator. So let's see what I've done here. You can see clearly that this is how we started it. We provided a separator. And I asked you what a separator should be, and most of you said it should be space. So this space now is a string. So you can do .join on it. Then here your iterable will be here. What is our iterable? Our iterable is this. Python is fun. It's awesome. So the .join can go into this list and remove all the items or all the strings. It can remove all the strings and join them into a single string. Here I've stored it in a sentence. So when we are done with this, we can print the sentence and you see how wonderful it is. Let's try it and see how beautiful it is. So let's create a list here. We call it words underscore list. And we create a list. The first element is Python, comma, is awesome. That's it. We can say words list here. No, let me not say this. We can, if to use a .join, okay, using the join, you can say space .join. You see, words list. This is how we use it. Please pay attention to this. If you can understand this, you've achieved a lot. First of all, tell us what you want to use to separate it. Then call the dot join and provide the list. If you can do that, let's see what will happen. Let's store it in a variable called sentence, and let's print this. Let's print this sentence. We are going to see that we now have a string. Now, this words list, you see, if you want to check the data type of words lists, who knows what a data type of words list is? What is a data type of words list? Anybody? Data type of words list is not a string. Anybody? It's a list. So when you run it, you have a list. But after applying the join, let's come back here and print the data type of the sentence. And watch this. When we run this, the sentence is a string. Wait a minute. This avoided the use of loops, the use of so many long processes. If you say .join, it can go through this by itself and it can join everything for you. All you have to do is to tell it what separator to use. That's all. If you can ask it to use a separator, it will use that separator for you. Okay, let's ask it to use question mark as a separator. Now let's print the sentence and see what we will get. We are going to get Python question mark is question mark awesome. You see, so the join says that give me a separator. And most of the time it is space. Then join. This is like the opposite of split. You see, split was split from a string into a list. And join will join from a list or a tuple back home into a string. So if you are looking for a string, then you can concatenate your list elements all into one with a separator. It's like having a long list and you are calling all of them into one variable, into a string. And you have the ability to separate them. What do you want to separate with? The space. This is valuable. I want to know who has gotten it. If you want me to repeat it, let me know. But this is powerful. I want to know who has gotten it. If you understand it, let me know right here. All right, so Timothy got it. Roughly understood. Hillary got it. Cho got it. Okay. Edmond wants to repeat. And a lot of people got it. I like it. I like this so much. You see, when we had a string, we were able to split. And we saw immediately that the moment we applied the split on a string, it changed it into a list automatically. And we're able to even unpack it. We saw that. This time, with a join, we are joining from other data types into a string. So imagine you have a long list, but the goal is to put all of them together. See, you have this. Okay, let's come here and say Python is awesome. Python is fun and awesome. So you've been given a challenge to pick every letter here, every word here, and put it together into a string. That's a challenge, okay? This is what someone will do. Someone will say that, okay, let me initiate a variable called result, okay? Result. Or let me say final string, anything. And the person will say that let's assign it to an empty string. It's a string. Then let's do a for loop and say for word in words lists. Okay. Anytime you get a list, anytime you get a word, let's find a way of adding it to this empty string. So we can say that our final list should be equal to final list plus the new word. This is what someone will do. Or someone will say final list plus equal to word. It's the same thing. Okay. So this will create a loop and pick every word and add it here. But still you have a problem. At the end of the day, let's print your final list. At the end of the day, when we print your final list, we are going to see that it worked. It is a string, but still it has a space problem. So what you can do is to concatenate again and concatenate with another space. You see, one simple thing, you can write a lot of code trying to solve it. And if I hadn't used this, someone would have done this equal to final string plus word plus space. Then let's run it, and the person has gotten it. But at the end here, there's another space here. Another trouble. So the person will say that when you are done with everything, when you are done, or the person can put it in the loop, or the person can put the strip, which is a method we'll look at next week. So you run it, and now you have Python is fun and awesome. A lot of work, but you solved it. Someone will say, wait a minute. Instead of this, okay, just say space dot join words list. That's all. Are you kidding me? Yes, you are done. Let's print this and see. What? It worked. You see? So someone can just write this code and someone is creating a loop. You don't need a loop. If you understand join, join says that I can join all the words, just give me a separator. Once you give me a separator, just give me the sequence or the list. I can join them for you. I can join them for you. So Edmond, do you get it now? So someone else will use a long process to solve one thing, and another person who knows how to use join can just use join. What join is saying is that I can concatenate elements of a list into a single string for you. That's what I do. So if you have a long list, don't worry. Just tell me the separator you want, and I can put all of them together for you into a string. That's all. So with join, your result is a string. This is nice. I like it. So one example here, Python is awesome. That's what we just tried. Another example here, you have this and you are supposed to, okay, who can solve this? Before I give you a challenge, who can solve this? We are wrapping up now. Who can solve this? I'll give you a challenge, just one challenge after this, but who can solve this? You see, you have apple, banana, cherry. Put all of them into a string using join. Let me see who can solve it. Just type it in the chat. I'm not asking you to code. I'll give you a challenge after this, and I'll let you code for me in 3 minutes. After that, we are done. That's all. Look at Francis. That's all. Okay. So the question said separate with comma and space. Okay. The question said separate with comma and space. Comma and space. You see? So just give the separator. We don't want just comma, because if you provide just comma, it's going to be a string that is not well formatted. But if you say comma and space, then it's going to work. All right. Thank you, Isaac. Isaac has done it. So that is it. You see? So when you print the result, then you have it. So comma and space, because we understand what the join will do, but we want it to separate it with comma and space. So we'll have a new string, and the new string, let's try this. I think this is interesting. So we have fruits here, and this is a list, and we have banana. Is it banana or apple? Apple, then banana, then cherry, and we are supposed to say space.join fruits. That's all. But we are supposed to add comma here. So now watch this. It will appear as if it's like this, but what you are going to see is that it is going to appear in a different data type. This is also having comma, but this is a string. This is a comma separated string. That is what we want. If we ask this thing to tell us the data type, it will tell us that it is a string because we wanted it into a string. That's why we asked you to use a join. But if you check the data type of fruits, you'll be told that fruit is a list. So join can convert from list to string. Beautiful. I love this. So I've enjoyed this class so much, and I'm giving you your last challenge and 3 minutes to solve it. It says write a Python program that takes a list of programming languages, joins them into a single string separated by a comma. Same example. So you've been given the languages. At the end of the day, you should have it not as a list, but as a string with comma separating them. All right. Your output is a string. Your input is a list. So take 3 minutes, solve this, and we are done. That's the end of the class. And then I'll give you the remaining announcement. Okay, so we have the first person, Robley, always on point. You got it. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's it. That's it. Hilary, beautiful. You got it. Wow. Wow. I like it. All right. Luis, Geoffrey, you got it. That is it. This is really powerful. This is really powerful. Thank you. Really, really powerful. Thank you, Nyampandi. Thank you. Wow. Thank you all. So the goal here is for you to be used to these string methods. If this evening you can tell me that you've understood the join method and you've understood the split method and you've understood the replace method, then I'll tell you that your Python skills has moved to a whole new level. I'm just telling you for a fact. So in the chat, I want you to tell me which of the 3 methods you have understood from this particular lesson. Which of the 3 methods you have understood? Type those 3 methods. If you understood them, then you remember them. Type them in the chat for me, the ones you understood. Wow. Okay. All right. So type it in the chat for me. The ones you understood, type it in the chat for me. Thank you, Esimame. And what this is going to do to you is to help you advance in Python. Now, all that we are studying on Wednesdays is following a map that will eventually bring everything together. So I want to urge you one more time to take the Python classes seriously. We are going to learn and advance in Python in a way that you are going to be really, really good in Python. When you go out on the field, you will know that you know Python. And it's going to be a plus, a plus, a plus, a plus for you. Plus for you. And some of you are going to get jobs as Python developers. As Python developers. You are going to earn at least $8,000 a month. I just told somebody something. You are going to get at least $8,000 a month out of just Python. Yes. And someone will get it. I'm just telling you for a fact. Yes. All right. So this is the end of tonight's lesson. And we have a very important assessment to do. Because we are tired, we are going to send it to you. It's going to come from most of what we've studied tonight, plus what you already know in Python. We want you to do your best to solve it. And we are going to be testing for AI and other things. If you use AI, the system will give you 0. Solve it on your own. And it is going to determine if you will get a CPD Python certificate or not. So it will be sent to you. This video will also be shared. And you make sure you solve it. Tomorrow, we are going to have multiple classes. Cybersecurity students are going to have their classes. Their class, Cloud and DevOps, you have your class tomorrow, 6 p.m. And we have the software engineers. And of course, the data students also have class tomorrow. So thank you all for joining this lesson. I want to know if you have learned anything from this lesson. Did you gain anything at all from this lesson? Anything at all? Anything at all? Anything at all? Anything? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you for joining, and I'll see you next week in this class. If you don't see me tomorrow, I'll see you next week. Tomorrow, I'll be with my data students. Next week, I'm going to see you here, and we will continue. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Expect the assessment, and I'll see you in the next lesson. I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.